Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends of the podcast, it's episode 10. We have got a special guest. We're going to learn about the man. We're going to learn about the beard. We're going to learn about the personality. Tobias Waltham, Head of Corporate Partnerships as Articad, he's in the studio. Welcome to episode 10 of the Foyne Jones Show. This season, we are inspiring our stars of the future, and to do that, we have to thank our sponsor, MHK Holding UK. Marcel, without you, this series doesn't happen, and we're going to give a lot back to the industry. And today, sitting opposite Charlie and I in the studio, we've got a man who's given 20 years to the KBB industry. We've got the beard. We've got the personality. We've got the man himself, Toby Waltham. Welcome to the podcast.
Good morning. Good morning,
mate?
Really, really good. Thank you for having me.
This is another one of those episodes that's been a long time coming. And what I like about you, Toby, you've got into the feel, you got into the Brighton vibe. You didn't just turn up on time this morning. You came down last night. You stayed in one of the best hotels in Brighton with your good lady. You've enjoyed some cocktails.
Yep.
The listeners will know this, but I'm recently back from my Gullivers, as we call them in West London, my travels. But yeah, it was my wedding anniversary. We are 22 years married, 28 years together, and I've been in the beautiful city of Budapest in Hungary, and I got to hang out with the Heavenly Father.
You did.
The Heavenly Papa. You know, we didn't meet the Pope just once. We got to meet the Pope twice, or see the Pope twice, which for some people doesn't happen to them at all in a lifetime. It was a beautiful city, many happy memories from the expensive restaurants to the karaoke bars to the beautiful, beautiful buildings, and the poignant history of the Jewish Quarter compared to the grandeur of the place as well. When the lights come on at night, it's a very, very special place. But I was back at Gatwick Airport yesterday, and all I could think about, Toby, on the way back was doing this podcast. We're going to make this one special.
I'm excited.
We're great to get you onto the show, and I'm just going to imagine that not everyone knows about the beard, not everyone knows about the personality, not everyone knows about the day job. So we'll bring that to life in the first half of the show. We'll get you to talk about what you're doing now, who you're doing it for, and draw on some of those highs and experiences over the last 20 years.
Yeah.
We will, after the break, we will talk a tiny little bit of football. Since Fulham spontaneously combusted at Old Trafford, I've tried to keep football. So. I've kept football out of the show. I've tried to keep it out of the show, but again, the guests don't let me. So we will speak some football, but most importantly, we're going to be giving inspiration to the next generation.
Yeah.
Because in 20 years' time, we want the industry to be stronger than what it is now. We want more talent coming in. So we'll talk about giving some advice to the stars of the future. But here and now, Toby, tell the listeners, talk to that camera, tell them who you are, what you do, and what you're all about.
Lovely. Well, exactly that. Well, thank you very much for that, Peter. That introduction is beautiful.
What bad was it?
It was all right. It was all right. You should do this. You should do this more,
I should do a podcast regularly.
Absolutely. Maybe get a job in recruitment, something like that. You know, Possibly. My name's Tobias Waltham. I've always been known as Toby or Bear, because 6'2".
The bear thing's rocking, mate. I see you in your marathon gear from a few years ago with the bear.
Absolutely. Loved all that. So, 6'2", bit fat and hairy. So, bear was a natural progression, really. Worked, been in this industry for 20 years now. So, been in this industry almost as long as you've been married. I don't know if that makes...
Longer, yeah. I mean, it just shows you how much my wife's put up with, really, doesn't it? Do you know what
exactly,
I mean? Like, she was reminding me of that as she's like, I want this. I'm like, okay. She's going, I could have been out for murder. I'll be well out on parole.
Absolutely.
I got the whole lot. So it is something. But in those 20 years, mate, you must have seen some changes.
Yeah.
Dramatic changes.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I started way back when in publishing. So selling ad space on classified pages in interior design magazines, and grew up and through that direction. It was absolutely brilliant. But we've had 2 recessions since then. So the amount of money in the industry's dropped for advertising and things like that. Went into events, and that's when I really started to get my schmooze on, because I love a schmooze. And that's really when I kind of worked out what I wanted to do in this industry.
The rumour on the street, Toby, or
Yeah.
Tobias? Or Bear?
Or Bear.
Rumour on the street, Bear, is that head of schmoozing is one of your key skills.
I love schmooze. I love a schmooze. Who doesn't love a schmooze? You can go to these. Well, that's what I love about this industry. You go to these awards. There's 4 or 5 a year. You go along, drink a glass of champagne, and just schmooze and go and meet new people and speak to new people. And we were talking about this earlier on, weren't we? About how great this industry is. You go along and spend time with these just absolutely brilliant people. Yeah. Yourself included,
Nice of you to include me.
Well,
in that,
yeah.
mate.
Well, I thought
I always feel what we do. We sit very much on the edge, and we sit very much on the edge. And we are blessed at Foyne Jones that we work with some of the most inspirational people, influential people. We work with some of the most breathtaking brands and innovative products, but we really like to keep it real and getting to know people, getting to know their strengths, their weaknesses, their passions, their interests. That's what I think makes what we do and this podcast so special because, there are awards. There are people that win. There are people that lose. There are people that think they should win, people that are surprised they win. But when you look at what the industry gives and the message it can send out, there is so much opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you look at your role, or where it came from to where it is now, those opportunities are still there. They're still growing. 20 years in, mate. So the 20 years in, let's talk some highlights. What were the highlights at the early days? What do you look back on and think,
do you know
that was
what?
special?
Actually, that was my most special moment for a long, long time. Is I used to work on an awards called Designer Awards. They're now called Designerati. And it was... We had our celebrity host, who's the lady who does Countdown now. I've completely forgotten her name. Rachel Riley was our host. Oh,
lovely.
Amazing. But we got there, and there was about 500-600 odd people there, and I've got my schmooze on. Someone comes over to me, and it was entirely my fault.
How'd you get your schmooze on? Is it you have to chat with yourself, like do you have to chat with yourself in the room, or do you like
You do, because I'm really, really shit at small talk. So I have a little chat, and just sort of start myself up, and then go and
Viking breathing exercises. They've become all the rage at the moment. Ice bath,
all of that sort of stuff. Yeah. So but I turn around to my colleague, a brilliant editor, a guy called Martin Allen Smith, who still works for Designerati, actually. And I turned around to him and I said, "Do you know what? This has gone without a hitch. The celebrity person's here, right? Everyone's here on time. Amazing." Then someone comes over to me. This is no joke. Someone comes over to me and goes, "Someone's just had a heart attack." And I turned around and said, "I went, yeah, all right, yeah, funny." He said, "No, someone's literally had a heart attack, and they've collapsed and one of the tables has flipped." I was just like, "You're absolutely joking." And they did. So we had to clear the room, and one of my colleagues was doing CPR and brought them back, and an ambulance turned up. And thankfully they lived, and he's still doing very, very well now. But that was, and I know that sounds absolutely an awful thing to say was a highlight, but at that point, we all came together as a team, and we managed absolutely everyone. There was people managing the venue because they were running, people managing the emergency services, people managing the clients, we talked about managing expectations. Even Rachel Riley mucked in. Even she was out the front with giving out cups of tea and looking after the guests and things like that. And it was the best coming together of a group of people that I've ever seen. And then we sorted everything out. He went off in the ambulance. Because we were going to cancel it. Then we got the phone call saying, "No, he's awake. He's going to be all right." And we were like, brilliant. And we said, right, let's put this awards on then. Let's do it. He loves a party. He loves a schmooze. We need to put this awards on. And it was hands down, still today, one of the best awards I've ever been involved in. We absolutely smashed it. And there was this coming together. So that was probably, for a long, long time, the big highlight, really. The thing that sticks out to me about this industry, and that's actually, to me, synonymous of what I love about this industry, is that coming together of people. I love it. Absolutely brilliant.
But you see an example of the best in humanity there, where people are coming together, people are being compassionate, people are delivering like life-saving first aid.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right? And you talk about, first aid training or whatever, and it's deep breath. But when the game's on, you've got to do it. That's completely different to the rubber doll, man. That's completely different to whatever it is. But if you've experienced that, there will be a bond with everyone that went through that supersedes a lot of stuff.
Absolutely.
It really does. It will transcend so much. It will transcend so much.
Absolutely, it does. Absolutely does. Yeah,
That's a pretty dramatic intro.
Yeah, do you know what? It was big, wasn't it? I thought I'd go straight in.
Yeah, mate, drop it
straight in. Why
drop
not?
it.
Why
Drop
not?
it.
No, but you know, it's. I love this industry. I absolutely love this industry, and that to me summed up why I love this industry so much. And kids learn first aid.
There you go, mate. There you go. So
inspiration
let's go back to you're talking about those awards. One of my memories of those awards was the lockdown ones.
Yeah.
Because I remember you announcing the winner of an award from your hot tub.
Yeah.
Just do it slightly differently to everyone else. Some people out in their tuxes, some are a bit more smart casual.
Yeah.
You got hot tub, cocktail.
Yeah.
Boom.
Absolutely. Well, you got to do something different, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? I just
Did you get your schmooze on that day before you got into the hot tub?
Do you know,
I
got a few cocktails in me.
Summer of love, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, it was.
It
was amazing. I'd lost a bit of weight over lockdown, so I could get away with it. I wouldn't do it now, but no, do you know, you got to do something different, haven't you? Absolutely, I love that. I do. I'm lucky to work for a company that does sponsor a lot of awards. Yeah. So I do go up on stage a lot. And I just think you've got to go up and do something different. Nothing drives me around the bend because you're at awards and really, if you've bought a table, you're only listening for the award that you're up for, aren't you? You're nattering. And I just think if you're going to go up on stage or if you're going to present something, make people stand up and shut up and listen. And what better way of doing that than seeing me in my Speedos wearing nothing but a tie?
You have that one the magic happens a certain time. It's moment of truth. You've got to capture the room.
Absolutely.
And you've got to capture them. If you do it right, everyone's engaging and everyone's inspired about what you're going to say.
Yeah, absolutely.
And inspiring people and talking about the industry itself. If you draw on your 20 years of experience, and there's no right or wrong answer to this, it's just generally, it's great to get people's views. You're talking to showrooms, you're talking to manufacturers, you're talking to the entire industry as a partner.
Yeah.
Let's just think about the challenges the industry faces at the moment, all right? And let's draw on that. But before we do, let's go back a couple of steps and just get you to explain your current role, what you're doing, who you're doing it for, because then when we bring that to life and we start talking about what you're seeing on a regular basis and the challenges you're facing, we've got something really special to talk about, mate.
Absolutely.
So bring the current role to life for me, mate.
So my current role is I'm Director of Corporate Partnerships for a company called Articad. I say a company called Articad, they're incredibly well known in the industry, market-leading software and tech company. So my role at the company is head schmoozer. No, it's basically my job is to look
Charlie,
after...
when you do the subtitles, right? When you do the video clip, could you put it as head schmoozer?
Head schmoozer, yeah, absolutely. Dub it over. No, it's so essentially I manage a team, and what me and the team do is we look after what we call our supplier partners. So if you're a door manufacturer, an appliance company, or a worktop fabricator, whatever, and you want your products to be available to retailers to sell, you put them on Articad, and I manage those relationships. So it's all about, for me anyway, and for Articad, it's about supporting those retailers. It's about working with door manufacturers, all of those guys in the KBB industry and beyond, to support the retail industry and to support those showrooms. And I manage all of those relationships with my team. I've got a brilliant team behind me as well.
Want to shout out to the team?
Yeah, shout out to the team.
The team.
Heather's, I work with a girl called Heather Parrish. She's my number 2. Christ, I think we might talk about good people in the industry. She's a hell of a salesperson. She's a phenomenal salesperson to work with. I work with brilliant our head of our director of sales, Neil Metcalf. Amazing talent. So we've got a really, really good team at Articad. Actually, great team. Really, really enthusiastic. It's all about collaboration at Articad.
And I'm pretty sure Heather and Neil are both going to be new listeners to the podcast if they're not listening already, Toby.
Exactly.
If they're not listening already.
Exactly.
So that role, I guess, so you're going to be able to feel the pressures of retailers.
Yeah,
you're going to be able to feel the pressures of business owners. Because the KB industry was on a high. It was, there was a surge of interest. There was activity. There was just a backlog of orders. We're now in a different world now. We're way beyond lockdown. We're way beyond COVID, but there are challenges out there.
Yeah.
Let's explore the challenges being faced by retailers, and let's explore the challenges being faced by some of those manufacturers you're talking about.
Absolutely.
Because they all want their products into showrooms and in people's homes.
Yeah.
Where do you see those different pressures at the moment?
I think, well, from a retailer point of view, I mean, looking outwards in, there's two big things, isn't there? There is, rising costs, and there's getting fitters in. There's that next generation of people coming in. Rising costs are tricky for them, but that's when the manufacturers need to come in. That's when they need to start supporting the retailers. I am passionate about manufacturers supporting retailers. I've said this, and I've said it so many times, and people are absolutely bored of me saying it. But if we don't support retailers, if we don't go out and support these guys out there in their showrooms, we're all out of a job tomorrow. If they all go, we're out of a job.
So let's just draw on that word support.
Yeah.
What should they be doing if they're not doing it already?
They need to. Do you know what? They need to be.
Excuse me.
That's
Yeah,
right.
I'll be all right, mate, yeah.
That's right. They need to be visible. They need to be visible. They need to. What drives me around the bend is I try and be visible at all times to my customers. If they email me or phone call me or whatever, carrier pigeon, smoke signal, I'll always try and get back to them as soon as I can. It might not be straight away, but I'll always go back to them. The amount of times I see on LinkedIn when you've got retailers going, I haven't seen a rep from this company in months, but they're increasing prices. I haven't seen this rep in 6 months, but they demanded payment for me for my showroom. It's infuriating. Be visible to these guys, and look, costs are going up, but sit in front of them and justify. We've talked about justifying cost.
It's interesting that, mate, because I've had conversation with manufacturer reps, key account managers that want to visit showrooms, and they get kind of like turned away, or we're too busy, and because there's it's. Again, it could be down to your approach. It could be down to how you develop that relationship. It could be down to how you arrive in the showroom and how you're handling yourself. So there's no right or wrong here.
No, absolutely not.
But
Absolutely
I think I think the industry, from where I look at it, it needs everyone to play its part.
Yeah.
It needs the brands that are really ripping it up at the moment, and we know who they are because you see them all the time, and they've got talent there, and they're really going at it. The way it used to work in terms of relationship management and business development, and it's different now. So I think the more creative will benefit. Yeah. But should manufacturers throw money? Should they do? I don't think that's sustainable. So there needs to be a balance.
There absolutely does, but I just think.
Visibility and presence is very important.
Visibility and presence is the big thing for me. I don't necessarily mean just throw money at these retailers. I absolutely don't, because I think that would be patronising to retailers. There is enough talented retailers and showrooms out there. They don't need financial support from manufacturers, but what they do need is relationship. Yeah. And I think that's why I love my role so much, because it is relationship. It's all relationship driven, and it's about giving up. COVID was I was about to say phenomenal. It's an horrific thing to say, but from an industry point of view, it was great for our industry. But I do think it has made people reticent to get back in their cars and go and see these people. That period of just doing everything via Zoom it's not over. But it's got to be the second or third option. It's got to be ring these people up, talk to them. Look, I'd love to come down and see you. I'd love to take you out for lunch.
I read a really interesting piece because I am quite sad on the plane, and it was it was recruitment industry related. And, there was some real gurus or influencers, masterminds, whatever you say in Handies. But they were saying that there is still businesses out there that have forgotten the benefit of a face-to-face meeting. They've forgotten the benefits of pressing flesh. I'm old school, so for me, if I have the chance, I always want to meet someone in the same room, in the same environment. But then you have got defaults, you have got other options, and embracing modern technology. I wouldn't be me if I wasn't embracing it. We do it in everything we do.
No, absolutely. I completely agree with embracing modern technology. But I think if you're an appliance rep and one of your ovens costs £35,000-40,000 and you're asking a retailer to sell a £35,000-40,000 appliance to a customer, and let's be honest, the end consumer isn't going to buy a kitchen from Zoom. There's a certain level of kitchen, bedroom and bathroom where they're going to go and want to go in and touch it and feel it and open doors and smell the wood and things like that. So why would we expect a retailer to do that face-to-face, but as sales reps on the road say, I want you to sell my stuff, but I'm going to give you half an hour on a Zoom call.
So do you think it's a headcount issue? Do you think there's not enough of them? Or are they being managed differently, where their priorities are different, so they can't do as many calls per week, per month, per quarter?
Maybe it's a pressure thing. Maybe it is a pressure thing. You know, yes, look, there's a lot of money in this industry, but it's not where it was 2 years ago. Yeah, everyone knows that, but it's still very, very fast. And I think it has
taken some hits, mate.
No,
it has. You know, like the R word's back, redundancy's back. You can see there's closures out there. There's a pressure which we haven't seen for a while. But I think going back, and it's taken me back to my young sales director days, and you're talking about, and sales management days, when you talk about visibility and presence. Yeah. The customers you're dealing with don't really need you when everything's going right.
No, absolutely.
If everything's going right, they don't really need you.
No, absolutely.
You might be able to pitch for another big project because they've got another one coming up, but the moment they need you is when it goes pear-shaped. And when something's going horribly wrong, how you respond as an ambassador of the business you're employed by makes all the difference, because I don't need you when everything's coming on. If you're delivering on time and there's no problems, it's all great. But when something's going wrong and I've got customer pressure and it's critical, it's business critical to my business, that's when I need my relationship manager, my partner, my supplier rep, my whatever the job title is. That's when I need to talk to someone.
Absolutely. Look, my granddad, bless him, decades ago, he used to work for Lloyd's TSB. In fact, actually opened the first ever Lloyd's TSB banks down in the southeast. And he always said to me when he retired, and he's not with us anymore, but he always said to me, his saying was that banks have become institutions that give you an umbrella when it's sunny, but take it away when it's raining. And it's true. We can't have our industry become that either. So you're absolutely right. It infuriates, and I'm not going to name brand names because I'll get in trouble, but we had our KBB show last year, and from an actual people going to the show, actual visitors, was for Articad, was the best show we've ever had. It was phenomenal. The footfall was amazing. But there were a lot of big brands backed out. Now, I went to visit all of the brands and said, why aren't you going? And they all said it's because we're concerned about COVID, it's a lot of money, and I get that. But I sat with one manufacturer, whom shall remain anonymous, and they turned around and said, in truth, it's because we're so far behind delivering stock that the last thing we want is a stand filled with pissed off retailers and interior designers asking for their stuff. And I then challenged that and said, but that is the time you're meant to be there. Front up to these people. Show them that you're supporting them. Look, if you've got to take kicks, in my job, we don't get everything right all the time. No one does. No one's perfect. But when I get an angry supplier partner ring me up or email me, I don't ignore their calls.
That's the visibility and presence.
That's visibility and presence.
Charlie and I were at the show. We were up at the show. We did some work up there. I met a lot of people, and I have to say, I said this in Series 5 afterwards. I have mixed feelings. I thought that some stands were spectacularly well. They really were up for it, and others I felt sorry for the people on the show. So I thought they don't want to be. You could just, maybe it needs to be mixed up. Maybe it needs a different dynamic to it. Maybe it needs, I don't know, I'm not going to say different location because it's the middle of the country, but maybe it just needs something different to bring it to life in a different way. What was missing? I don't know. Not every stand was interactive. Not every stand had energy around it.
Well, funny enough, Pete, I mean, this was one of the things I was going to say that's changed so dramatically about our industry. I think in the last 3 years, I'm a movie nerd. I love my movies, and especially zombie films.
Charlie's nodding at that point.
Yeah. So I love zombie films. I won't bore you with the details why I love zombie films, I love them. And I likened our industry to, up until COVID, we were sort of George Romero, slow, shuffling zombies. Getting this industry to change anything was just like, it was just slow and lumbersome. And then overnight, this industry turned into Zack Snyder, sprinting, snarling, and it had to keep up. Yeah. And that, I think, at the moment is the biggest challenge for this industry. is keeping up. And all of a sudden, you're absolutely spot on. Some of those stands at KBB, and I hope, I'm looking forward to next year's, because I hope a lot of them, have paid attention. Some of those stands at KBB were interactive. They had, things that would engage the retailer and impress them. Even if they couldn't get their stuff to them, they were impressed and they were excited about the future. And there are other stands you look on and just think, oh, Christ, really? What is this? And it's those companies you just want to speed up. You're just like, come on. The average age of people buying kitchens, bedrooms and bathrooms, offices, it's lowering.
Of course it
and
is.
if they don't catch up, if they keep doing things the same way they've been doing them for years and decades and decades and decades, and I mean this with no disrespect to those companies, because some of them are absolutely phenomenal companies and very, very successful, but they need to embrace technology.
There is a world out there, and Josh Delane from the Woodworks was another great guest who was talking about the TikTok native and and different generations in what they're expecting.
Yeah.
And right now, people want a brand to have a social presence, but they want it to have some authenticity. And equally, I'm talking to people that just want things to happen the right way.
Yeah.
So then you look at everything we spoke about there and the challenges. We want to not just get through the next 20 years. We want this industry to be even better in 20 years' time. So from an Articad perspective and a corporate partnerships perspective, just to wrap up the first half of the podcast, mate,
man.
where do you see the future going for the brand, your corporate partnerships, your brand? What's the challenges ahead? What are the opportunities ahead?
I think the challenges ahead for any sort of tech company in this industry is pushing that change. I envision a time where actually we're not even called Articad anymore, because we are so focused on embracing new technologies and new software, pushing them into manufacturers, and we're already doing that with some manufacturers, and finding new ways for retailers to sell their stuff quicker and easier. The big thing with Articad and our software is our rendering engine is superb. You can build something in Articad, it takes 5 minutes, and the stuff you kick out at the end of it, it looks lifelike. Because it has to be these days, because of shows like Grand Designs, everyone's Sarah Beanie now. So they want exactly what they envision in their head, and you can do that in Articad. But it's going to be about software moving forward. It really, really is. And giving the retailers the tools to be helped by manufacturers to sell their stuff quickly, and so they're making decent profit as well.
Fair play.
Yeah, absolutely. It's got to be about, man.
The man, the beard, the personality. You're now on the podcast.
I know.
What a great first half of the show.
Unbelievable.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, are you ready? The digital revolution is no longer a spectator sport. It's game on. The magical art of storytelling is the future. Social, content, branding, podcasts, video marketing, and virtual 360 tours. This is Jones Digital.
Okay, now Charlie's hand is out of the shot.
Yeah.
Well, welcome back to episode 10. Toby, you having fun, mate?
Having a great time.
How much money your missus spent? She's been in the shop for a couple of hours
Do you
now.
know what? I've broken into a small sweat, and I can the shivers going up and down
when
my spine.
he said his
so I'll
missus
probably have to-
down, I said, she'd come join the podcast if she wants. Like, it's quite a good experience in the show.
Yeah.
He's like, not going to happen, mate. She's with her pal.
With her friend down the lanes.
There you go, mate.
Yeah.
There you go.
It.
Strange things happen down the lanes. Things happen down the lanes. But magical part of Brighton. But one of the things we love to do at the Foy and Jones show, Toby, is we like to get to know people away from work, their hobbies, their passions, their interests.
Yeah.
So we'll go straight through the front door. Let's talk football.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk football. Why do you follow Man United coming from Essex?
Well, actually, I was born in Kent. Actually, even lower down there. No, do you know, most of my dad's family are from up north, so they're from like Hull and Manchester and things like that. And like a lot of that older generation, when the Munich air disaster happened, they started following Man United.
Yeah.
My dad was one of them. And so he just raised me one, really, to be honest. But I am one of those rare Manchester United fans from down south that's actually been to Old Trafford more than once, and actually has been to see a match. So, do you know what? I remember turning around to my old man when I was watching the FA Cup final with United against Palace. Drew 2-2, and I was watching...
So what year was that, 99?
89,
no, 89, sorry,
89, I think. And
89, 90, yeah, because 87 was 87 was Tottenham Coventry, 88 was Dave Besant's that guy, that was when Wimbledon beat Liverpool. So yeah, probably was that,
something
wasn't it?
like that. And I remember turning around to my old man and saying, "Look, I live in Colchester. Should I not support Colchester United or?" Even worse, Ipswich Town.
It was 1990 because 89 was Hillsborough. The
it
Hillsborough
was.
one,
Yeah,
wasn't it?
absolutely
So,
right. Yeah, and my man didn't talk to me for about half an hour.
So without giving away your age, you would have been what, 13?
I was 10. I was born 79. So I was. I was 11 that year. So from a really young age, I just always supported them, and I love them.
I remember that final because it went to replay, that one, didn't it? Right, he scored.
It was one of the last ones that went to replay, actually. I think they scrapped it relatively soon after that. So, Wrighty scored a couple of goals to make it 2-2, and then we won the replay 1-0. So, no, it's great. I love Man United. I was blessed because I was a teenager during, the 90s, with that golden era, the Beckhams, the Scholes, and the Nevilles of this world. And I've seen a lot of glory.
You told me a great story, which I hope you don't mind sharing with people, mate. You told me that you felt a bit torn, and you fancied going to watch Colchester United or even Ipswich because they were local to where you were living.
Yeah, absolutely.
Old man wouldn't have it, would he?
No, God, no. He didn't talk to me for about half an hour, 30, 40 minutes. I will confess, because I love football, I did sneak off and go and watch Colchester United and Ipswich Town play a couple of times. I've actually been to your boys. I've been to Fulham. I went to watch Ipswich Town play.
Spiritual home of football, mate.
Absolutely. Beautiful ground though, Craven Cottage.
Spiritual home of football, mate.
Absolutely beautiful. Now, I love football. I love Man United. I'm not. It's. Yeah,
So
it's been a tough ride.
Man
last 7
United
years.
theme.
Yeah.
Who's the best player you've ever seen, in your opinion, live? Best player you've seen play?
Mark Hughes.
Mark Hughes, fair play.
Sparky. Do you know what? He gets a lot of rep because bad rep because he joined Man City, which you can't really do. I mean, he didn't join Liverpool, which would have been far worse. But do you know what I love about Sparky is, look, Man United have been blessed with brilliant players. Your Beckhams, your Cantonas, Ronaldos, and they are world-class players. But people, for some reason, always forget Sparky. And he just went about his business. He was tough. He put his shift in. He scored a bag full of goals as well.
Had a great career, mate, to be fair.
Absolutely
He managed Fulham for a year.
He did.
After when Hodgson went on, he came in and really steadied the ship. We had an ageing team. He steadied the ship, and it was... then Martin Yole took over, and Martin Yole did well. Anyway, we're not talking about Fulham, we're talking about Man U. So Mark Hughes.
Mark Hughes,
would he be your favourite player, Man U player?
Yeah, it would be, actually. It would be. I've always loved... Look, I've got Man United shirts with Cantona written on and back at home that I'm not allowed to wear around the house because my wife absolutely hates football. I love those unsung heroes of United that United fans... adore. So, your Mark Hughes. Like Dennis Irwin, people talk about the best left-backs in the Premiership. No one ever talks about Dennis Irwin.
He score a free kick, Dennis Irwin, as well, couldn't he? He could play either side, right or left back, couldn't he?
Never had a bad game. Never had a bad game. And back in the 90s, when Man United were in Europe, a lot of people, forget that the reason why that golden generation come through is because when teams are in Europe, they could only have 3 foreign players. And it's really, really telling that, in that team in the 90s, we had the Cantonas, Keanes,
Kanchelskis was a good player,
Andre Kanchelskis.
We had a Man United player on the podcast during Series 3.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, it was a very, very surreal moment for me because I used to watch him play at Craven Cottage as a kid, Paul Parker. And Paul Parker tells an amazing story of his career because he was part of a Fulham team that nearly got promoted to the First Division.
Yeah.
And they didn't. A game got abandoned back in the 80s. A game got abandoned for fighting and pitching invasion, and Fulham were quite hard done by against Derby that time. Sort of thing that if it happened now, it would have been replayed or whatever. But anyway, that was them. Then Fulham didn't go up on the last day of the season. Chelsea stayed up on the last game of the season. Next season, Paul Parker played almost every game, but Fulham were a struggling team. Chelsea went up to the First Division. We got relegated. And Paul Parker says that that summer he left. He got relegated by Fulham with the Fulham team.
Yeah.
He got signed by QPR.
Yeah.
Right. He made it into the England squad, so he played in the 1990. He got into the England squad.
Yeah.
Like later on, he went to play for England, and he played for Man U. He goes like, it was the most surreal kind of passage play. So I'm there, and it was the 30-year anniversary of the shootout we lost to Germany when Gaza cried.
Oh God!
And we had Paul Parker on there, and I always referred to him all the way through the episode. I referred to him as Fulham and Man United's Paul Parker.
Yeah.
I never put QPR into it at all. I wouldn't say it, mate, because the boys from Shepherd's Bush are not that. We're not popular with each other. But it's a Fulham Hammersmith thing. It's not just a football thing. But let's talk about that. So Man United are your football team.
Yeah.
When you're not head of schmoozing, when you're not delivering what you deliver for your partners and making a difference for Artie, what do you get up to? How do you relax, mate? What's fun for you?
Do you know what? I love movies. I mentioned earlier on. I love movies.
You're the first self-confessed zombie movie nerd we've had on the show.
Do you know
I think, Charlie. Yeah.
Do you know what? Actually, I'll tell the story. I blame my brother. I blame my older brother Simon.
Big listener. Hello, Simon.
Yeah. Right, Simon. It's his fault. So when and it's entirely his fault. I'll tell the story. I'll be quick. So
take your time, mate. We're enjoying it.
So my mum was working shifts. She used to be a midwife, and so my older brother. The reason why we're so close is he looked after me, and she turned around to Simon and just went, right, Toby's at home. I was tiny. I was 7 or 8, and he's 3 years older than me. She would go, look, you're staying at home. You're looking after Toby, so looking after your little brother. And Simon was like, okay, yeah, no worries at all. Mum left. This is obviously pre-mobile phones. So Simon then turned around to me and goes, no, we're not staying here. We're going to a party, but you're too young to leave by yourself, so you're coming with me. So we went to this person's house, and I can't remember who it was. And so what they did was they were going to just watch films and drink or whatever. And so I was plonked down in front of this film, and I remember it's clear as day, called The Video Dead. And it was, I've since rewatched it, and it's terrible. Basically, it was about this magical television box that at a certain hour, whatever was on the television would come out the television and interact with the person that is watching it. So, typical 80s schlocky type film. A guy watches a porno and all the porn stars come out. But then one person gets stoned watching it and is watching a zombie film, and all these zombies come out and start eating people. That's absolute crap. And when I was that young, it scared the shit out of me. Honestly, I was like, I had nightmares for weeks. I went home, cried to my mum, dobbed my brother in. He was grounded for forever for taking me to a party, and B, sticking me in front of this horrifically gory film. But ever since then, I just grew up obsessed with zombie films. So
you wanted more?
Yeah, I wanted more. Yeah. Give it. There's probably some therapy I need to go through for that. I grew up watching things like Dawn of the Dead, and things like Shaun of the Dead is one of my favourite films. And
I was going to mention that. I mean, that's the one that the non-zombie nerds would probably relate to the much.
Absolutely. So no, I watched all of that stuff. So relaxing for me. Had a really long day at work. Had a tough day. I've turned the phone off.
In the hot tub with a zombie movie on.
In the hot tub. Yeah. Watch a film. Watch pure escapism. Watch something with zombies in or dragons in or out in space. I love that's how I relax. That's how I relax. A film, glass of wine or
Fair play,
bourbon.
mate.
Lovely.
Fair play. Yeah. And back onto football. Interesting season for Manchester United.
Great season.
Shouldn't be in the FA Cup final.
Shouldn't be in the FA Cup
shouldn't
final.
have beat Fulham. Shouldn't have beat Brighton, to be fair. But they scored their pens, so they did beat Brighton.
Yeah, absolutely. And Brighton didn't score.
Yeah.
So,
that was one of those playground games of like next goal wins, but no one can score, wasn't it? So they had to kind of find the conclusion to that.
I think everybody loves watching Brighton, but hates watching them try to finish sometimes. It can be painful.
But you saved up all your goals. Can you win? Brighton won like 6-0 the other day.
Yeah,
where were those goals against United? Not that I'm complaining.
I think, big final. It's arguably the final that the global audiences wanted. Man United v Man City. Do you fancy it?
Yeah, why not? I just look. Do you know, if someone had turned around to me at the beginning of the season, especially after we lost our first 2 games, and said, 5 games left of the season, you're going to be in the top 4 with a game in hand, so you're probably going to get Champions League football next season. You would have won the League Cup, and you're going to be in the final of the FA Cup. I would have laughed at them, but I would have taken their arm off for it. So, look, Man United always seem to do well when we're underdogs. No one expects us to beat City. They really, really don't. But on our day, well, it's football. Fulham would have beaten us in the FA Cup semi-final had you not spectacularly imploded all of a sudden.
That was a great example of self-destruction. It was 40 seconds of complete madness and undefendable madness. Really, there's Fulham fans out there get a big conspiracy theory. It's this, it's that. Ultimately, William handballed it, whether he meant to or not. He handballed it. It was a goal-scoring chance. He's got to go.
Yeah.
What happened after that? That's not how to conduct yourself professionally. No. And it's the impact of it. I was in Budapest. Did I mention I've been in Budapest?
Once or twice.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful place.
Pope.
Yeah, Heavenly Papa.
Heavenly Papa.
Yeah, Heavenly Papa.
I love that.
Honestly, like as much as you say that, to feel the emotion and the power of people's faith, just being lucky enough to be with them and seeing what that meant, it did make the trip really special to feel that.
I love that stuff. I'm not religious at all. But while I was out in Morocco, I think I said earlier on, I was out in Morocco with my wife at the end of Eid, and we witnessed the call to prayer, and the power, the energy that gives off. It's
crazy. And it was, and for us, we would have just been happy to see the Basilica, just to see it. It was beautiful, but to experience that and see what it meant, people travelling for thousands of miles to be there, that did make the trip very, very special. But,
absolutely.
But let's talk finally. And it is really, really important for us because the whole series, right, is about inspiring our stars of the future.
Yeah.
We've spoken about the man. We've spoken about the beard. We've spoken about the head of smooths. All right, but actually,
I'm going to get that on my business cards.
I'm going to do it for you.
Yeah, do it.
But there's a job to be done, and I worry about the industry because I worry about how we're going to compete with people that want to work in music. I'm pointing at Charlie. People want to work in. They want to work in audiovisual. They want to work in fashion or just different sectors. We've got to celebrate more about the industry, and I think you're touching so many areas of it. You're touching the retailers. So, let's talk about if someone out there is listening and they wanted to open a new kitchen and bedroom, but KBB showroom, and want to open a showroom right now. So they want to do it in Bedford. So your manor, they want to do it where you are now in Bedford. What advice would you give to them? If they were starting up on that journey and it's what they wanted to do.
Just take it all in. Take it in. Go and speak to these people. Do you know, I think as an industry, we're so lucky to be surrounded by so many talented people across a broad spectrum of different areas in this industry. So, you can ring up designers, world-class designers. You can ring up, Tony and Haley at Day True. You can ring up Diane Berry. You can ring up Colin Wong, Darren Morgan, Darren Taylor Symes. I could list off hundreds of stunning, spectacular designers.
A lot of guests from the show.
I know. Let's get them all in. Let's get them all in.
That'd be a line-up. We've got them all together.
Exactly.
One of your dudes,
absolutely. And you can speak to these people. You can talk to them, ask them about inspiration. What inspires them? What do they do to increase their margins? Do they ask for a deposit when they give designs out? Go and speak to these people. There's a wealth of talent in this industry, and not just in designers as well. Go and speak to the publishers. Go and speak to Clara Deeks, over at Designers, Andrew Davies at KBB, Darren Somerville over at KBB Focus. Speak to them. There's so much passion, so much talent in this industry.
Across those individuals, though, they're ingrained into the success of the industry, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I know many of them, and I've been lucky enough to spend time with some of them, some virtual, some in the studio here, others in different events or in the showrooms. The one thing I take away from everything is that I can learn something.
Absolutely.
And I think that's where we try and work as a business, is that if we are working as a partner, we've got to learn what you're about. We've got to learn what your DNA is about, your thought processes, what you believe in.
Absolutely.
And I think that the showrooms that are really rocking it at the moment for me are the ones that have their identity. They've got something special about them, the way they handle themselves, the way they come across. It could be their focus on design. It could be the way they brand themselves and market themselves. I don't think there's any particular pathway that works, but every pathway that people follow needs to lead somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
So talking about people coming into the industry, the next generation of designers, the next generation of showroom managers, next generation of reps for suppliers and manufacturers.
Absolutely.
What advice would you give to them?
Breathe it in. Like I said, go out, see these showrooms, speak to other reps in the area. You know, I think the KBB industry has got some of the best sales reps around. I really, really do. I genuinely do. You know, you've had some of them on this show. You know, Jason Key over at Keller. What a great salesperson. Carly Bowman over at Claygate, absolutely phenomenal. Our own Neil Metcalf, Heather Parrish, phenomenal salespeople. Engage with them. This industry is about relationships at the end of the day, and it's always going to be about relationships because, yes, we've got to embrace technology, we've got to embrace software, and I'm lucky that I work for a company that I can do that with and push that out. But ultimately, if people are going to be buying key rooms for their house, kitchen, bedrooms, bathrooms, and office spaces, whatever, you need to have the relationship with these people because they will have the relationship with the end user. Go out and speak to these people, get advice, meet them for coffee, take them out for a drink. God, this industry, we love a drink. Take them, go and meet them in a bar. Yeah, pick their brains, whether they're a sales rep or they're a publicity PR company. And there's some phenomenal ones of them in the industry. Yourself, Peter, industry legend yourself. Yeah, speak to these people, ring them up. Breathe it in. Go and open the doors. Play with the appliances. Look at the worktops.
I've found recently by giving some quality time to people, which isn't about putting pound, shilling, and pence in the bank. Actually giving quality time to listen, to understand, to share advice, to share insight. That for me. The intimacy of that, the openness of that, the transparency of that, because we mentioned it earlier, you know, I'm straight down the middle. You'll get complete honesty from me, and you might not always get. I might always tell you what you want to hear, but I'll give you reasons behind it. It's transforming how I think about everything. It's transforming how I set up our working week, how I set up our working days, because you're seeing different ways you can stand. Offering the same service, but offering it in a very different way. Yeah, and that's what we're about as a recruitment team. That's what this podcast is about. You know, and that's what getting guests here. And again, you know, for someone like yourself, you've come down from Bedford and you was hiking beforehand over the earlier part of the bank holiday weekend. You've come down from Bedford, you brought the missus with you, you've turned the whole visit into an experience. Yeah. Question for you: did you take a dip in the sea?
I didn't know.
Okay, all right. So we've only got two guests this season that have actually dipped into the sea.
No, I know.
Nick Boyle and Lee, they dipped into the sea before they recorded their episode. Toby, mate, it's been absolutely fantastic. I have to again just mention a couple of people. Thank you to Charlie, our producer, because without him, this does not get put together so well. Charlie doing an absolutely brilliant job. Can't believe we're 10 episodes in, mate. It's absolutely mental.
It's flying by, mate. It's flying by.
It's flying by. We've got more to come. We're recording again later this week. Thanks once again to our series sponsor, Marcel from MHK Holding UK. The Ajax way, you know, he's all about playing the Ajax way. He's a lifelong Ajax fan. And I think from my point, my side, talking to you, Toby, it's been great to meet you. It's been great to get you on as a guest and actually hearing your take on the individuals, the pressure, what the sector's all about. It will inspire our stars of the future.
Oh, I hope so.
Have you had fun, mate?
I've had a great time. It's been absolutely
Anyone you want to
brilliant.
say hello to before we go?
Yeah, my wife, my kids, everyone at Articad.
Definitely family. Definitely everyone at Articad. It's been a brilliant episode 10. It all began with a man in a beard in a hot tub. That's when we first started having some banter on LinkedIn during lockdown.
And I'm sorry for that as well.
There's something about that guy who's doing that. We're going to see what you're about. You stand out in today's industry. You've got a lot of quality. Thanks for being part of the show. Without our listeners, we don't have a podcast. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, as I said, that's the end of the show. Thanks for listening. Make sure you check out next week's episode as we will keep inspiring our stars of the future.